Women used to be treated as property, and responsibility of women was transferred from father to husband. In a sense, the husband became the woman's new father. In previous times, men were unable to have a wife unless the father approved of the transaction and vetted the to-be husband. This prevented many deadbeats from getting married and having children, and also incentivized many men who normally would have been deadbeats to work. Hello and welcome to the heliosblog. My name is Helios. Today, let's talk about an important topic. Should men provide for women? A popular debate nowadays is one of whether men should be providers, considering that so many women are modern. I'm going to make a case for why you should be providing for women and why you should spend serious time increasing your income. Believe me when I say that by listening to this video until the end, you will learn seriously important things that you're going to need in the future. Listen instead of clicking away after 15 seconds. The point is that until you make the kind of money where you are the prize, you'll never be able to have the leverage to have the kind of relationship that you want. If you're unable to have a relationship on your terms, you should not have one. Let's get into it. Why men? The male of a species, in general for mammals, has a very specific role in nature. They're usually the providers and protectors for the females. Usually the male of the mammal species also has to compete for the attention of females and, when successful in competition, mates. The distribution of mammalian mating in nature usually follows the Pareto principle, with 20% of males mating with 80% of the female population. This is no different for humans. Without contrived cultural barriers, marriage, human mating also follows the Pareto principle. See Tinder, where only 10% of men are mating with 90% of the females. The historic role of the human male. Before modern times, men were seen as protectors and providers for women. Women used to be treated as property, and responsibility of women was transferred from father to husband. In a sense, the husband became the woman's new father. In previous times, men were unable to have a wife unless the father approved of the transaction and vetted the to-be husband. This prevented many deadbeats from getting married and having children, and also incentivized many men who normally would have been deadbeats to work in order to attain a wife. Wives had no power in the sense that once they decided to marry, their decision-making power was limited. Women were not forced to marry, however. Men were given all authority and all responsibility. Feminism lauds this time as deplorable and negative in human history, as women were oppressed. If you were to meet women of this age, however, you'd find proud and happy wives with many children. For the most part happy, of course. There were abusive exceptions, but these would be exceptions and not the norm, as feminism would have you believe. And here's the thing. In the modern world, depression and misery are at an all-time high, and that's because we've moved away from the traditional roles of men and women towards some bullshit garbage equality that doesn't exist. The genders are not the same, and so, of course, they're not equal by design. So that we are trying to force fit two different shapes into the same holes doesn't help anyone. In fact, all it does is serve to confuse the narrative, right? And as they say, chaos is a ladder. So when you confuse the narrative, then you can seize power. And that's the whole point. The whole point of the feminist movement is not actually to make women happy or successful. It's to gain power. It's like cancer. The point is to take control of the cultural narrative and get control. Okay. The modern man. The modern man has no defined role. Since the beginning of the modern age, with the release of the birth control pill, men have lost much of their authority. Since sex with men is no longer a reproductive risk, many women spend years sport fucking and not becoming wives. Men are still expected to be traditional providers, but now they're expected to become providers to damaged women with baggage who sometimes even have children. Men nowadays have almost all responsibility with far less authority. They're no longer in control of their families. Since no fault divorce exists, and women are emotional creatures, leading to 80% of divorces being initiated by women, stable marriages are becoming a rarity. Modern men have not much to look forward to with regards to marriage if they're average earners. What this implies for you is you must strive to improve your income drastically. Without a large base of resources from which to take advantage of the Pareto principle and draw many women to you, you have practically no power nowadays, and by extension, no authority. Marriage is becoming more and more an elite institution. Average men need not apply. Why most marriages fail and society is in decline? The reason most marriages fail is money. The modern womanist world has made it so that two people must work in order to live a stable life. Before, in the 1950s, one man could provide for an entire household. That time is gone and is not returning. Nowadays, the world is set up such that only with 2 salaries can a family unit actually function. So, your woman must work in order for your household to run, or you're in for a very bad time. This is for the average man. But here's the problem. Because of this thing called hypergamy, which is fundamental to female nature, if she feels she's equal to you, she feels superior to you. Women's hypergamy dictates that they desire a superior partner. If she feels that she's equal, chances are your marriage will be terminated by her. So society is in decline because marriage, the fundamental bedrock of society, is unattainable for the average person. And that is because feminism and the gynocentric social order in general has made it so that things are not proper anymore. Nowadays, the salary that one person would have made to run the household is split into 2. And all it does is interfere with women's biological fundamental nature, making the average man undesirable. So by making everything equal, cultural Marxism, all that has happened is the widespread misery of the modern world. Conclusion. As you can see, the way the world is nowadays makes it hard for men to provide for women. And if they cannot, they will be terminated by divorce. The rise of feminism and the gynocentric social order that we currently live in has made the world this way. Marriage is becoming an elite institution. Men should provide for women. But in the modern world, the average man cannot in a satisfactory manner. You either build to become a superior man, or you will fail. Work hard. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Please remember to do all of the following. Like the video for the algorithm. Comment on the video. I respond to all comments and I'll give you a heart. Subscribe and hit the bell so you can see my content on your feed. Check out all of my content on other platforms. It spreads the reach of the channel. YouTube, bit.ly/heliosyoutube. Rumble, bit.ly/heliosrumble. My blog is realheliosblog.com. My podcast, bit.ly/heliospodcast. My Patreon, patreon.com/theheliosblog. You can also support the show at bit.ly/heliosdonations and buy my books at bit.ly/heliosbooks. Thank you so much for all of your support.